2016. This lecture is a part of odontogenic tumor lecture series that I am taking, and today the odontogenic tumor that we are going to discuss is calcifying epithelial odontogenic tumor. So let's get started. This tumor was first described in 1956 by Dr. Pindberg, J. Pindberg. So that is why it is also known as the Pindberg's tumor. Pindberg's tumor. This name has almost become a universal synonym for CEOT. Okay. And from now on, here on in the entire part of the entire lecture, I will be using the abbreviation CEOT for calcifying epithelial odontogenic tumor. This tumor is a rare tumor, a rare benign odontogenic tumor, and it is epithelial in origin. So it is an epithelial tumor. Coming to the histogenesis, where we'll see from which tissue does this tumor originate. There has been a lot of discussions and difference of opinion regarding this, right? So initial cases which were described by Dr. Pindberg, he had described CEOTs which were related to unerupted teeth. So when these CEOTs in relation to unerupted teeth, Dr. Pindberg thought that probably the histogenesis might be from reduced enamel epithelium. So for long, this was thought to be the tissue of origin. Later, when other intraosseous CEOTs came to the diagnosis, and so many CEOTs were diagnosed which was not associated with any tooth or unerupted tooth. So then probably they thought that this reduced enamel epithelium may not be the tissue of origin. So then what was the tissue of origin? Some in between, some authors, they even attributed stratum intermedium and its remnants to be the originating tissue. Okay. Later, seeing the peripheral variant and the intraosseous variants not associated with the erupting teeth, they finally concluded that the dental lamina and the remnants of the dental lamina complex was the ultimate tissue of origin. So right now, as of now, we think that this is the probable histogenesis for this tumor. Okay. Coming to the clinical features. So this tumor again has two variants, intraosseous and peripheral variant. First, let us discuss about the intraosseous variant. Okay. The age that most commonly, age group which is affected is the middle age. The middle age, 30 to 50 years around. Then next is the gender. There is almost an equal incidence in males and females. Okay? Slightly more in males, but not very significant. Next is the site that is most commonly involved. So it is seen that the mandible is twice more commonly involved as compared to the maxilla, and even in the mandible, the molar region is thrice more commonly involved when compared to the premolar region. Thrice more commonly. Then next we'll see the clinical presentation. So the intraosseous variant generally presents itself as an asymptomatic swelling. Most of the patients do not complain of any pain or any kind of other symptoms that is associated with this. Just a bony swelling is seen. And more than half of the cases, approximately 52% of the cases, have seen to be associated with unerupted tooth. So these are the clinical presentation and features of intraosseous variant. While we are at it, let us see the clinical presentation of the peripheral variant. The peripheral variant of CEOT is very, very rare. Only few handful of cases have been diagnosed till now as peripheral CEOT. So as we know, when we use the word peripheral, especially in as a prefix to any intraosseous tumor, it invariably means that it is the extraosseous counterpart of the tumor. So it occurs in the soft tissues. It is a rare tumor, right? And coming to the clinical features, the age group that is more commonly involved here is younger age group as compared to the intraosseous counterpart. So when you compare to the intraosseous counterpart, the age group is a decade younger. Males are again equally affected as females. Mandible is more commonly involved as compared to the maxillary gingiva. And whether mandible or maxilla, invariably it occurs in the anterior region. Okay. Next, we will see the clinical presentation. The clinical presentation is nothing very different or remarkable about it. Just like any other peripheral variant of a tumor, it occurs as a small nodule. Okay, it is firm in consistency, and the color of the swelling is same as the color of the gingiva, same as the color of the overlying gingiva. Right? Histopathologically, the peripheral variant is also quite similar to what we will see in the histopathology of the intraosseous part, but the only difference here is the characteristic calcifications that you see in the intraosseous part are generally missing from the peripheral variant, right? So that is the only different feature that you see, lack of calcifications in the peripheral variant. So having covered the clinical features and presentation, let us move on to the radiographic picture of CEOT. The radiographic picture of CEOT is variable. There are a couple of different presentations that it shows on the X-rays. Let us see that. It can occur either as a small unilocular radiolucency, okay, and the borders of this can be either diffuse or well circumscribed. Diffuse or well circumscribed. Then the next presentation can be of a mixed variety. So it generally shows a mixed radio-opaque radiolucent lesion. So here there is a radiolucency with a well-defined border or maybe a diffuse border, and inside the radiolucency you will see small radio-opaque flecks. Small radio-opaque flecks. This appearance is told to be similar to the driven snow appearance. Driven snow appearance. And it has become pathognomonic for CEOT. The radiographic picture of CEOT and driven snow appearance is important to remember here. So this is about the radiographic presentation. Sometimes if it is associated with an unerupted teeth, if unerupted teeth is involved, then the mixed radiolucency that you see, the radio-opaque flecks that you see in those kind of lesions are generally more closer to the crown of the tooth. More closer to the crown of the tooth. Okay. So this is the radiographic picture of CEOT. So let's move on to the histopathology now. Look at the picture on my right side here. This is the histopathology of CEOT. Okay. It is composed of tumor cells which are arranged either in the form of sheets or in form of nests, and each cell, if you see, these are nothing but collection of the polyhedral cells, right? So let us see this. I have just magnified one part of the tissue here. Each cell has a well-defined border, and the nuclei of the cell, you can see, is large, hyperchromatic. It almost fills up the entire cell. And can you appreciate some red granules here inside? This is nothing but the cytoplasm of these cells are granular because of the presence of eosinophilic granules. These are the eosinophilic granules which are present in these cells. Also, if you notice, there are some junctions drawn in green color. These are nothing but the intercellular bridges which are prominently seen in these cells. Intercellular bridges. The presence of these intercellular bridges, which are also called as desmosomes, proves the fact that these are epithelial cells, or these cells are epithelial in origin. Now coming to the nuclei. Somewhere, if you see, the shape and size of the cell and the nuclei are not uniform. So sometimes nuclear pleomorphism is also observed in these kind of tumor. Nuclear and also sometimes cellular pleomorphism is observed. Pleomorphism means different size and shapes. Generally, for all those who know about it, cellular and nuclear pleomorphism are one of the characteristic features of malignant tumors. So there are some CEOTs which show this kind of features along with some extreme morphologic variations which generally mimic malignant neoplasms, whereas some CEOTs show totally benign features. But any which ways, both of these CEOTs, there is no difference in the biological behavior, and both of them are benign. So always remember, CEOT is a benign lesion only. Okay. So after talking about the neoplastic epithelial cells, let's move on to the another feature, that is eosinophilic, some eosinophilic material that you see here. There are pools of this eosinophilic material. Now what are these? There is one. These are important. This type of material that you see in CEOT has probably interpreted as amyloid. So they have thought that this could be amyloid-like material, or some authors think this to be glycoprotein or enamel matrix. So there are a lot of views regarding this eosinophilic material. And the origin of this material is also debated. They think that probably this material has arisen from two sources. Either they arise from low molecular weight immunoglobulin molecules, or this eosinophilic material is associated with endocrine tumors. So in here, the cells of the upper system probably must have secreted this. That is another theory. Upper is nothing but amine precursor uptake decarboxylation. So this homogeneous eosinophilic material is thought to originate from one of these two, but in relation to CEOT, this is obviously not the case. So now they have done some histochemical experiments on this material, and what they found was, let me write it in a different color. What they found was, when they stained this material with Congo red, it was positive. Congo red was positive. Also, when they stained this material with methyl violet, it showed metaplasia. With crystal violet. And when they stained this tissue with thioflavin T, the homogeneous eosinophilic material showed fluorescence. So based on these histochemical characteristics, finally we now think that it is some kind of amyloid-like material. Okay. So this homogeneous eosinophilic material that is deposited in the cells, either intracellularly or sometimes even extracellularly, these are nothing but amyloid-like material depending on the histochemical reactions that it shows. Next, coming to another characteristic feature of this tumor is the presence of these calcifications. These concentric calcifications that you see in blue color, these are called as Lees-Gang rings. It's pathognomonic of CEOT, Lees-Gang rings. So Lees-Gang rings are nothing but dystrophic calcifications, and they are arranged in a concentric circle. What are dystrophic calcifications? I have done an entire video on pathologic calcifications. If you want, you can check out my video on the link given in the description. For now, just remember, when someone says dystrophic calcifications, it means that the calcification is occurring in dead and degenerated tissue. So these type of calcifications that you see in CEOT are nothing but dystrophic calcification. So this is about the histopathology of CEOT. So let me again review it because there are a lot of points. The cells, the neoplastic epithelial cells, are arranged in the form of large sheets or nest. Each cell is polyhedral in shape and it shows a large hyperchromatic nuclei which covers up the entire cell, and it has a granular eosinophilic cytoplasm. Also, you see some intercellular bridges between each cell, proving that these cells are epithelial in origin. Some cells show nuclear and cellular pleomorphism, and that is a common feature that you see in CEOT, but it does not affect the biological behavior of the tumor. Apart from this, you see some eosinophilic deposits which are present, which are thought to be amyloid-like material, and some dystrophic calcifications which are arranged in concentric circles, which are nothing but called Lees-Gang rings, again pathognomonic of CEOT. Apart from this, the connective tissue that is present is fibrovascular connective tissue. The intervening connective tissue is normal, mature, fibrovascular. While we are discussing CEOT, I feel it is mandatory to discuss one important variant of CEOT. There are a lot of different cells that you can see. You can see Langerhans cells, you can see myoepithelial cells, but all those are beyond the scope of this video. Okay. Here, but one important thing that I need to discuss is the clear cell variant of CEOT. Clear cell variant. In this variant, instead of the granular eosinophilic cytoplasm that you observe in the cells, you see a clear vacuolated cytoplasm. That is the difference that you observe. Clear vacuolated cytoplasm. When they had tested this or stained these cells with mucicarmine, it was negative. So these are not mucous cells. Mucicarmine negative. So these cells are, what are these cells now? The presence of clear cells that we see here more or stresses the fact that they are derived from remnants of dental lamina, because clear cells are also seen in the dental lamina. So the resemblance is very obvious. Okay, so that further enunciates the fact that it is arising from the remnants of dental lamina. So this is the clear cell variant. Coming to the biological behavior of this variant, there are differences in opinion again. Some say that there is no change in the biological behavior depending on the clear cells, while evidence do suggest that if there are presence of clear cells, then the tumor has known to behave more aggressively. One more thing, clear cells are, just because we are discussing it here, clear cells are also seen in other odontogenic tumors like ameloblastoma or even in odontomas and all. Okay, so there are also other odontogenic tumors which show clear cells. This is about the histopathology. Let us now discuss about the treatment. The treatment of CEOT again varies depending on the size of the lesion and also the location of the lesion. Let us see how. If it is a small lesion, the size of the lesion is small, bony lesion, then surgical enucleation and curettage usually suffices. But if you see recurrence in the lesion or a large lesion, then the treatment modality is similar to what we do in ameloblastoma, that is segmental resection. You have to treat these things more radically. Right? One important point to be noted here is the lesions which occur in the maxilla are generally treated more aggressively than in the mandible of similar size, because they are known to behave also more aggressively. So this completes calcifying epithelial odontogenic tumor. I think I've covered most of the important points. If there is anything left or if there is anything more that you want me to add to this tumor, you can always leave the suggestions in the comment box. Okay? I can't stress this enough. Your comments and suggestions will motivate me to keep putting up videos like this. Thank you, and do not forget to check the key takeaways that I've put at the end of the lecture. Thank you.